Hello and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Now, at the moment I'm actually in version 0.24, as you can see from this little birding over here, the mission control birding. But this video isn't going to be related to that because, well, if you're into Kerbal Space Program, there's plenty of other 0.24 overview videos that you can watch, so I didn't want to just do something the same over and over again. So, what I'm actually going to be doing today is a tutorial. And one of the things that I've been trying to do in Kerbal Space Program pretty much since I got the game is build a space shuttle. And a while ago I managed to do it successfully, so this is going to be a tutorial on how to do that. And for the command pod we're going to be using the Mark III cockpit just because, well, it nearly looks like a space shuttle cockpit, and the only fuel tanks that will fit this without looking ridiculous are the Mark III fuselage, so we'll stick these on here. But we aren't actually going to be using any of this liquid fuel inside these fuel tanks, so we're going to drain these out fully just because that's otherwise wasted weight. And if you look at this space shuttle, it's got, at the back here, it's got 3 engines. So under structural there is a part called a radial attachment point. This means that it'll add more places that we can attach engines onto the back of this thing instead of just one place. So we can just add 3 of them like that. I've used angle snap so that I get this one perfectly in the middle. You can switch that on and off by pressing C. And we are going to use these engines. Put symmetry on. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be, that's kind of the body of what is actually going to return. And obviously you're also going to need a little bit of fuel because you're going to use these engines just to push it up into an orbit and circulate your orbit around Kerbal. So we're going to stick one of these fuel tanks on each side. That's a bit too low, so I'll put it higher like that. There we go. And we're going to want some form of SAS, so stick them on there. And just for looks, I'm going to stick one of these on the back. Obviously you turn the part around with the WAS and D keys, and then we're going to stick a bit of a more sleek looking nose cone on the front of these, just like this. And I'm rotating them with the Q and E keys there, just so that the black stripe going down the side lines up. Okay, now we're going to need some wings, but before we put the wings on, I'm going to just put some struts on here to make it a bit more stable, like so, on the top and the bottom. There we go. So now we need to put the wings on. So, now because this is actually going to be a fairly heavy craft when you're bringing it down, and for it to be easy to land after you've re-entered, and because you're not going to have any of this fuel left because you've used it up, so you can't use your engines for that, you're going to need a very large wing surface. Now to stop this looking ridiculous, I'm going to make this a biplane, and that kind of sounds even more ridiculous than having really big wings, considering this is a space shuttle. But that's that, so biplane. I'm going to stick some wing connectors there, and then do exactly the same on the bottom. I'm holding Shift, and then I'm now using the Q and E keys to just slightly adjust them, and they're actually, and if you press space, that'll reset it. It's actually not quite straight, it doesn't look like, so just went one too far. There we go, that looks straight. So now let's add some delta wings on the end of those wing surfaces, give me that, and turn this back the right way up. And we are going to want to smooth out that ugly looking piece there, so we're going to do that with a structural wing. I think it's always best to build the main part of your craft first and then add the wings like I'm doing in here, just because it makes it so much easier to add things like these struts connecting these fuel tanks to the main body over here. Okay, so this is looking good. We're going to want to add, you always want some kind of control vertically, but that looks really small and really stupid, so we're going to put 2, one on each wing. just like that. Oh, one thing I did actually forget, RCS fuel, which we're going to stick in here. Actually, no, we're going to attach it radially. We're going to use... it's not wanting to connect now. Okay, if this ever happens to anyone, one thing you can do is press Alt and F12 and then click on Allow Part Clipping in Editors. And that should clip on now. There we go. Okay, so RCS fuel. Next page, this stuff. We're going to connect this radially, trying to get it so that it's not pointing out the bottom of the wings. Yeah, this looks good. And there we go, put that on both sides, did we? Yeah, we did. And we're also going to need power. So we're going to use these thermoelectric generators, because these don't need the sun to power, to give you power. And you always need power, whatever you're building, you always need power on it. Because if you run out of power and you don't have any way of generating it, then you're pretty screwed. Okay, so now we're going to want to add some more struts just to keep these wings stable. So we're going to want to attach these wings actually to this fuel tank, because at the moment they're just attached to this middle part. So I'm going to do that, and just for good measure we'll do that as well. There we go, attach it to the RCS port, the RCS whatever it is, fuel tank, that's the one. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Now we're just going to check the centre of mass to centre of lift. That actually looks pretty perfect. I'm surprised that I got that in one actually. That is actually going to change though, because we're going to add control surfaces. So it's going to get not quite so perfect. Do we have room for the two of them? No, it doesn't look like it. So let's just add this second one on the bottom and then use a couple of small control surfaces here. If sometimes it seems to be attaching dodgily, then just turn off angle snap by pressing C, and that usually fixes it. So there we go. So now you can see that that's been moved way back, but that is actually good because you always want to have some form of aerodynamic control right at the front of your spaceship, well, your plane, and that actually didn't move it forward that much. So one way that we can fix this is by putting lots of these flaps just kind of hidden underneath here, and that should bring the centre of lift forwards. Because remember, you always want to have the centre of lift just very, very slightly behind the centre of mass. So we'll put some on the top as well here, just to balance it out. Oh, and that's actually a bit too far, so let's take off this front one. And there you see, that is just about perfect there. Okay, so this seems to be fairly finished. We just need the landing gear, and then we will have, hopefully, the functioning last stage of the space shuttle. Now, whenever you're attaching landing gear, you definitely don't want to have angle snap on, because it just goes a bit dodgy, really. Not always, but you know, yeah, you can actually attach it there. But if you try to attach it like in other parts of the wing, like here, you can see it's trying to make them go on diagonally. But if I go into normal, no angle snap, then it will work fine. We don't want to have these too far back, because that'll make it harder to take off from the beginning. Actually, no, that doesn't matter, because we're not going to be taking off like this, are we? We're going to be attaching a separate launch stage, so that doesn't matter. But let's just test this. Let's try launching this and just see if it works as a plane, because it would be very bad if it didn't. Right, this is all makeup stuff, don't need to worry about this. There we go. Ignore me, I'm an idiot. Forgot the fuel lines. Fuel lines. You don't have to feed these directly into the engines, you can just feed fuel into there. That's not on symmetry, that only did it on one side. There we go. Okay. Attempt 2. First time was a simulation. That never really happened, I wasn't that stupid. Right. We got fuel? We sure do. And takes off like a charm. Let's see how well this thing can glide. Oh dear. Well, it's not very stable. That was kind of my fault though, I turned way too quickly. Yeah, so you have to be careful when turning, but we shouldn't need to do much of that. We're just going to be using this as a re-entry plane. You know, look at that, a biplane space shuttle. You don't see this every day. Well, I actually did that. Okay, so let's build the launch stage for this thing. Okay, so originally what I tried to do was make this as realistic as possible. So actually, we want these to start retracted. There we go. So I just did a massive fuel tank that's attached onto here, and solid fuel boosters on each side. But that gives us a problem, which I will show you just now. So we attach this on. That's not quite straight. One annoying thing about these Mark III fuselages is that they come to a point. They aren't round, so it's very hard to get a... You can see it doesn't go on straight, so you just have to do this and change the angle of it very slightly if you want it to be straight. That's not actually quite right still. One more, let's see. Oops, that's not what I'm going to do. That's good enough. So what I did, I added a big orange fuel tank. Well, because the space shuttle's fuel tank is orange. Okay, I wasn't using angle snap apparently. And then I added more fuel to this because that's definitely not going to be enough. So I added one there and one underneath there. And obviously a nose cone just for aesthetics, because at the moment this actually increases the amount of drag. Hopefully that will be updated soon. Get this centered again and get the camera centered. And then using these decouplers, I added a massive solid fuel booster on each side, like so. Okay, so when you launch, the centre of mass is almost perfectly aligned with the centre of thrust, pretty much. It's slightly over towards this side, but you can adjust for that by throttling down your engines very slightly. But when these solid fuel boosters burn out, so these have gone, you've decoupled them, suddenly your centre of thrust is right over here. I just pointed at the screen expecting you to be able to see that. It's right over here, and your centre of mass is still all the way over here. But the way that I went about fixing this is having a engine underneath there, because now you can see, oh look at that, they're almost perfectly aligned again. And this engine would start in the same stage that you decouple these two, which it did it by itself, which is wonderful. So that should, in theory, balance everything out. In theory. So let's add some struts to this, just to make this fuel tank a bit more... Is that straight? That looks like it's off to one side. Yeah, it is. I didn't attach this fuel tank correctly. What's that? Is that straight? Yeah, that looks about right. This camera in the spaceplane hangar really annoys me. There we go. That's back to the centre. Okay, so let's try this. Let's just add a few struts, and we'll need some launch stability enhancers, obviously, because there's no way that this thing would stand up by itself. Attach these on, just like that. Oh, and just for realism's sake, let's add parachutes onto these solid fuel boosters so that they can be reused. Put that in the same stage as decoupling them. There we go. And now we just need to attach this main fuel tank to the space shuttle itself. And guess what? I forgot RCS again. I added all this extra RCS fuel onto the space plane, but no RCS, so let's do that now. We want to have RCS in all directions, so let's add thrusters here, and these guys there. Oh, this is one of the new parts added in the 0.24 update. It's like a RCS thruster that uses up liquid fuel and oxidizer. And interestingly, they also added a radial engine that uses up monopropellant fuel. So, I don't know, maybe they just put the wrong fuels on the wrong engines, but that seems a bit weird to me. I don't know, whatever. Right, now we want the RCS to be balanced, so I'll add some thrusters at the front as well, and something like this, and some more at the back, the top and bottom, just like that, and thruster blocks, whatever these things are called, linear RCS ports, that's the one. So there we go, this is looking fairly done. Let's add the launch stability enhancers and we should be ready to go. Now this isn't the simplest to fly, because you have to do quite a lot of thrust balancing and changing your throttle while you burn out the fuel and your centre of mass changes. Stick one there as well. Okay, so let's give this a try. Save and launch. Alright, so you probably want to throttle up to maybe 2/3, I'd say. Definitely put the SAS on, you're going to need it, because it's not going to be perfectly balanced. And launch. Now it's tipping forward, so I need to throttle down with my engines. If you're tipping forwards towards your fuel tank, you need to throttle down. If you're tipping backwards towards your engines, these liquid fuel engines, you need to throttle up. So yeah, you'll probably want to start at about a half throttle actually. And it starts off very slow, but these solid fuel boosters will last. Oh crap, I forgot something. We'll go to this. Right. Something very important. This fuel tank needs to be fueling these engines, not these fuel tanks. So, you're going to want to stop the fuel flow from these fuel tanks and add a fuel line from this main fuel tank, from the bottom of this fuel tank, right here, the bottom fuel tank there, up into there. There we go, so let's save this and launch. And second attempt, second time lucky. And obviously you can add things like docking ports to this and stuff like that, or if you've got any mods like B9 or something, you can replace these central fuselages with cargo bays and add a satellite or something that it's going to take into orbit, something like that. Okay, so half throttle, SAS on, launch. Oh, nearly got it perfect, so it was balanced. And now you can see these engines are still running. They're not using up any fuel out of this liquid fuel tank. They are using fuel out of this main fuel tank, set of fuel tanks here attached. You can actually throttle up a little bit if you counter for the offset centre of thrust, just by trying to keep it straight. And then as we decouple these solid fuel boosters, you're going to want to throttle up to 100%, because the centre of thrust and centre of mass was nearly perfectly balanced. So if you're at 100%, then in theory you'll go straight up. Okay, this is looking good. The solid fuel is about to burn out. If you're wondering, I've got the environmental visual enhancements mod and the better atmospheres mod. That's what's giving me these clouds. Okay, solid fuel about to burn out. Let's throttle up, decouple them. Oh crap! I don't know why I hit X there. That was just panicking, I suppose. Actually, see, these are falling down back to Earth with their parachutes. If they didn't get deleted after 2.5 kilometers, we would be able to, like you just saw then, we would be able to recover them. And we're up to the right height now, and this is where things start, for a gravity turn, this is where things start getting tricky, because you are burning fuel in here, so your centre of mass is moving, so you have to use the thrust limiter tweakable on this mainsail to slowly bring down the thrust to try, as you do your gravity turn, to try and to try and keep it balanced. And if you start going too far, then you bring the thrust back up and it should counter for it. It's very hard to do this at the same time as concentrating on doing a proper gravity turn. As you can see, oh dear, slow down, there we go. Oh dear, yeah, I'm back up to being almost perfectly straight. This is, this takes, it's not the easiest space shuttle to fly. I don't think this is, maybe this is why they didn't do this in the real space shuttle. In the real space shuttle, if you're interested, they actually just roll over backwards so that the fuel tank is on the top to keep it balanced at this stage. And actually this fuel tank will get all the way into orbit on the real space shuttle. And in ours, yeah, it is going to get onto a suborbital trajectory, but it's not going to bring us all the way into orbit. It's the fuel that we are carrying that is going to take us into orbit. And we've gone way past where we should have done this gravity turn, which are only just getting to now because of this ridiculous way of flying a rocket. And we're nearly out of fuel in this main fuel tank. There it goes. We decoupled that. We re-engage the fuel flow here. Just like so. Look on the map. We've got a a ridiculous trajectory. Let's use RCS to just push away from this. Actually, I just recently rebound my RCS keys, so I'm not really used to it anymore. Right, so now we're going to want to point towards the horizon, and we're plenty high enough to start. Actually, no, we want to walk around to our apparatus. And another thing, I can't seem to record with my voice with Audacity at the same time as having Kerbal Space Program full screen. So it's in windowed mode at the moment, so I can't actually see the arrow that is meant to give me my nav ball. I guess I won't have my nav ball in map view then. Come on. Where is it? Never mind. Whatever. Right, let's just walk around to our apparatus. Granted, yes, we got into a very ridiculous orbit. I have managed to do this slightly better. It's very hard to concentrate on talking and doing a gravity turn and changing your centre of thrust so that it matches your centre of mass. But it does look like we are going to just about get into an orbit. Now I'll try to demonstrate whether or not this thing is stable coming back in for landing. What's going on? What's happening? Oh, for God's sake. That's really bad. Okay, I missed this oxidizer here. I didn't let it flow, so it's all unbalanced now. I'm going to try and rebalance it slightly. Once we've burned it all out, it won't be a problem anymore. There, that's enough. That's only 2 units out. Alright, let's point back to prograde then. Oh crap, I can't do that in map view, can I? Okay, here we go, throttled up. I'll have to go back out of map view to be able to cut my engines. Once we've got a decent periapsis. 30, 50, there we go, that's fine. Okay, so we got into an orbit with this thing, and it looks like we've got only just enough to be able to deorbit it. So let's actually do that now, although this seems very pointless. Yes, we are just getting into an orbit so that we can deorbit. If I'd been more prepared, I would have put up a space shuttle, a space station that I could dock with and maybe refuel or something like that. Okay, so let's just deorbit this then. Actually, just so I don't have to keep switching between map view and this view, I'll just look on this from my periapsis. Bring this down, back way inside the atmosphere. Why is this camera being all dodgy? There we go. Right. Actually, I'm going to want to bring it down way below the way so that I'm just hitting it, because I do want to be landing preferably on the light side of the planet. So I'll bring it down so it's just about here, so that we'll be able to land in the land and not in the sea. That Actually, let's throttle this up a little bit. Do this more. Let's burn prograde very slightly because I don't want to be landing in the sea. Let's get it right into the middle of this big continent. There we go. Alright, so that should be excellent. Let's start time warping down. Oh crap, the planet turns. I forgot about that. Ah crap. Hopefully we'll be able to hit some kind of landmass somewhere. Yeah, we should make it. Hopefully, maybe we're gonna get there. Oh, we better. Right, good time to test out our gliding and our powering with RCS. Let's get pointing slightly upwards. We want a slower descent here. Oh, Jesus Christ! Right, yep, I've done something wrong. It wants to go backwards. I suppose that's fine. Let's get this thing pointing in the right direction. There we go. I'm glad I don't have anything ferrum aerospace or anything like that, or deadly re-entry, because I would have just have killed several people. Okay, there we go. Right. Looking fairly stable. Well, that's really weird, because the clouds are moving faster than I am. It looks like I'm going backwards. Alright then. So we are coming down, we're losing a lot of speed, we're going very slowly. So let's go down a little bit faster. Here we go, this is better. Much better. Much better. Okay, let's start bringing the nose up again, losing a bit of the speed. This is why I added so many wing surfaces. I mean, look at that, we're going so slowly, and we can just keep slowing down, and we can land in incredibly slow speed. See, look at that. This is in 4 times time warp and physics warp even, and I'm going at 50 meters per second, and I'm still nearly going level. And keep the nose up while we're landing, just so that we can go even slower. Be interesting to see actually how slow this thing can fly. If you wanted to, this is quite an excessive amount of wing surfaces. If you wanted to go for more realism, you could get rid of the top set of wings here. I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem. I mean, you wouldn't be able to land at 30 meters per second, but what can I say? And touchdown. There we go. Get our brakes on. Okay, so that is a tutorial on how to build a space shuttle that can get you into orbit, deorbit, come back and land. So I will see you in the next one.